In a courtroom full of tension, history, and unresolved pain, 50 Cent, arguably one of the hardest, most calculated minds in hip-hop, broke down in tears when the final sentence for Lil Durk was read aloud. But don't get it twisted. Those tears weren't of sorrow or loss. They were tears of victory, of relief, of a street king being spared the shackles of the system for now. Lil Durk had just been declared not guilty, with the judge granting his release on probation pending further investigation. And in that split second, when years of war, fear, loyalty, and silence collided, 50 Cent felt it. And for the first time in a long time, he let the world see it. Let's rewind. The energy outside that courthouse wasn't just intense, it was volatile. Streets had been buzzing for weeks. Fans, haters, police, bloggers, rappers. Everyone was waiting for one name, Durk. And this wasn't some random hearing. This was the final sentence. The moment that would define whether one of Chicago's most iconic voices would walk free, or disappear into the cold steel of the prison system. Lil Durk, known not just for his music but for surviving the unforgiving game of real-life warfare disguised as entertainment, had been under a legal microscope for months, if not years. The rumors were endless. Racketeering, weapons, gang affiliation, unsolved cases. Every time the court delayed, people thought he was done for. But his team had been working quietly, methodically. And while the world saw chaos behind the scenes, strategic moves were being made. But still, nobody expected this. As the judge walked in and the courtroom rose to its feet, there was a thick silence in the air, one that made even seasoned attorneys stiffen up. But the man who felt it the hardest, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, not because he had a case pending, not because he was afraid, but because he knew what it meant. 'Cause he'd been there. He'd seen what this system does to young black men with power. Because he understood that this wasn't just about Lil Durk. It was about all of them. It was about survival. And then it happened. The judge's voice rang out. The court finds the defendant not guilty on the charges presented. The room exploded. And 50, who had stood tall, stone-faced through it all, broke. Not into screams. Not into cheers. But tears. Low. Silent. People forget that behind 50's bulletproof persona is a man who's seen friends buried, allies locked up, careers ruined. A man who watched the government rip entire rap dynasties apart with conspiracy charges and sealed indictments. But seeing Lil Durk beat those odds, that was different. That was hope. That was redemption. That was something even 50 couldn't hold in. And let's be clear, it's not like Durk got a full green light to walk away. The judge made it clear. While Durk was found not guilty, investigations are ongoing. There are still loose ends, unanswered questions, and closed-door moves being made. But for now, Durk is being released on probation. Free to walk, free to speak, free to breathe. And 50 knew exactly what that meant. It meant the machine didn't win. Not this time. But the story goes even deeper. Why was 50 even there? Why did this verdict hit him that hard? What kind of connection do these two men share that would make a hardened legend like 50 Cent? Who survived the streets, survived 9 bullets, survived betrayal after betrayal, actually shed tears in public? The answer lies in a bond that's never been fully publicized but has always been quietly real. For years, 50 has been watching Durk. Not just the music but the moves, the strategy, the resilience. He saw in Durk a mirror of his younger self. A man born from chaos, raised in trauma, forced to lead before he was ready, and held to standards no one else could survive. He saw Durk lose King Von. He saw him dodge hit after hit in the media. He saw him build an empire while bullets were flying. And most importantly, he saw him stay quiet, solid, when so many others folded. And 50 respects solid. There were whispers that 50 was advising Durk behind the scenes. No contracts, no public posts, just phone calls, quiet mentorship, street chess. Because 50 knows what the wolves look like. He's seen how the system eats its own. And if there's one thing he hates more than a snitch, it's watching real ones go down while the fake ones float. So when Durk stood there in court, flanked by his lawyers, surrounded by cops, media, and whispering prosecutors, 50 saw the whole weight of the industry on that man's shoulders. And when the judge ruled in Durk's favor, that weight didn't just lift off Durk, it lifted off 50 too. This moment wasn't just personal, it was historic. And while the crowd outside erupted into cheers, flags waving, phones out, the inside of that courtroom was surreal. The judge stern-faced, the prosecution silent and seething, Durk emotionless, until he turned to his